Nice to see you. To see you, nice. Welcome to live stream. So welcome. If this is the first time you've ever been on live stream, I'm going to tell you how it works. If you want to write in or call, then you do that through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12. So that's Lisa Cairns 12. And you can find that information in the box below. I do these talks every Sunday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time, and you're very welcome to join. It's on my YouTube channel, so if you wonder how you find it, you just go to my YouTube channel at 6 p.m. French time. But if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you'll get a notification when I go live each week. And always check out my website in case I'm not streaming that day. So that's also in the box below, and it's like www.lisacairns.com/live. I don't know, live streams or something, I've forgotten, but it's in the box below, so you can find that as well. And if you check on there, it will just tell you the dates that I do not do it. I have no up and coming events at the moment. So this is the only place in which you can join me. Can't think of anything else. If you want to phone in, make sure you have a headset with a microphone in order to make it nice sound for other people. So you can just use your Apple headset or the set that comes with your phone, and good internet connection as well. That is all. I always like to start the talks with silence, so you're welcome to join me for 5-10 minutes, or you just sit in silence. So hello. The title today is, let me just have a look again what the title is. How can I get better karma? So the reason I wrote that was because on my last video I saw there was lots of questions about karma and lots of stuff written. So I thought I will address that subject today. So first off, the most important question is who is it that has karma? So before we even think or talk about what karma is, the question is, who is it that has karma? So who is this I that has karma? So what most people on this planet assume is that they are separate entities that are inside the body, and that who they are is the body, their actions, their past, their future, their job, their relationships with people, and who they are all these, you could say effects, or all these things that they name themselves, like some effects, some things that they name themselves to be. So I am John, I have 3 kids, I'm a father, I have a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a lawyer, I have a big house in Kensington, I'm very successful, I feel guilty about my relationship with my parents, whatever it is. And they believe that they're that person, and then they have this image in their head of that is who they are, and they have this image of that person always interacting with the world. So rather than simply interacting with the world, it always goes through this filter of who you believe yourself to be, this image, this self-reflection. So you're kind of simultaneously acting and being in the world, and also imagining who you are being in the world. And that image of you, that feeling of you, can be really different from what you actually are, or what the body actually is, or what's being presented. So you could be somebody that's like really skinny and beautiful and successful, but in the head the image is that you're not successful, you're ugly, you're fat. Or you could also equally be the opposite way. You could be like small, short, plumpy, and you could think that you're tall, thin, beautiful, and super successful in this life. Like you can have a really different image of self as to what's actually being presented. But none of that is who you are. That's appearing in who you are. That's something that's experienced. So you could say that anything that's experienced cannot be who you truly are, because who's experiencing it? So who you truly are is something that can only be found here in what's happening, in the experience. And it's not something that moves in time. It's not something that that is here one moment and then gone the next. Everything about yourself, so everything about the illusory you comes and goes. You're a nice person, you're a rude person, you're pretty, you're ugly, you're fat, you're thin, you're tall, you're short, you're happy, you're unhappy, you have children, you don't have children. Everything that isn't you comes and goes. What you truly are never comes and goes. So what's here, what's present all the time. And there's two qualities, if you want to call them qualities, that are always here. And that is there's two qualities that are always here. One is consciousness. There is always this looking, there's always experiencing. And the other is this sense of being, this aliveness. And they're always here, no matter what. This empty looking and aliveness. What happens is the consciousness and the person are normally like interlinked. So you feel like you're a person or a body that's conscious, and that you're conscious and separate from the world, and that you're experiencing from inside your body. Whereas you're not actually a body that's conscious. There is simply consciousness, which is all things that appear. Consciousness is in everything that's appearing. It's not separate from appearances. When you really investigate consciousness, you realize that it's not located, it's not behind the person, it's not prior to, it's not in front of, and it doesn't start or stop anywhere. There is no actual space and time. The consciousness is all things that are appearing. You can never grab hold of consciousness, yet consciousness experiences everything. It knows every thought that appears, it knows the room, it knows the computer. The problem is most of the time you're objectifying consciousness and you're trying to think of it as a thing that you see. Consciousness is not personal awareness. So personal awareness is like self-awareness, like the awareness that you're being an idiot, you're being nice, you're being kind. And self-awareness is always also the ability to move the lens, so move the camera, so you can move your attention, so your personal awareness, onto your big toe, onto your knee. And you can also have that feeling of reflecting on how you're behaving or something. But that isn't consciousness. Consciousness is prior to that. Consciousness knows that. Consciousness never moves. You can't move the lens of it. It's always in everything that's appearing. It's still, and yet everything that appears in it moves. But because you think that consciousness is moving around with your body, and that you're moving around in a world, it's really hard to see what I'm talking about. Whereas that's not true. You're not moving around in a world. You're not somebody that's moving around the world. That's appearing to happen. A body is appearing to move around the world, but everything is appearing and disappearing in consciousness, in who you truly are. So what is karma in relation to that? Karma is something that belongs to the body. And karma to me is conditioning. So it's behavior. I know that karma is described as action. So karma is described as like, I hurt you, and because I hurt you, I get something bad back. But I don't see it like that. I see it as cause and effect. So karma is also described as effect, not cause. But you can't find cause and effect. Like, they're endless. So say if I get drunk, and when I'm drunk, I slap you around the face, and then the next day you're really angry with me. Maybe you go to the police station and report me and I get charged. You can't separate out any of those actions, because like getting drunk might not be the cause of, or it's obviously not the cause of the slap. That might be the effect. So what's the cause of getting drunk? Maybe my parents are alcoholics and I have alcoholism in my body. Or maybe you just come out of a really abusive relationship. You don't know. And then the effect is getting drunk. And then the effect from that is hitting a roommate or something, and then having stuff come back to get you in trouble. And that to me is karma. It's actually, to me, and everyone's allowed to define their own words and make up their own words of what works for them and what doesn't work for them. But karma, to me, is the way this body is conditioned and the way it reacts and responds to situations. And the way it reacts and responds to situation is what the world will give back to you. Like, ultimately, it's not all separate, it's all one movement. So if you're a really angry, nasty person, then more than likely the world will always give you back angry, nasty actions. Like, people will be aggressive towards you. If you're really fun and loving and happy, more than likely you'll get that back. If you play victim, more than likely you'll get a perpetrator back. If you're always wanting to play the child, more than likely you'll get a parent figure. So karma isn't going to make you happy. So producing better karma isn't going to make you happier. Like it's something that the body is responding to life in. It isn't going to make you, no, I'm saying that wrong. It isn't going to give you freedom. It isn't going to give you what you're truly looking for. So sorting out your karma and getting better karma isn't actually going to give you the freedom you seek. However, it tends to be when you get into this subject, you do begin to take on better karma, because you begin to understand the mechanisms of these bodies and how they're interacting with people. And through that, it propels you into more positive situations, maybe more positive mindsets and positive outlook on life on the conditioned level. But that's not who you are. Your mistake, your suffering has come from believing you're this person with karma. Whereas actually, you've never been that person. That person's been playing out in you. You're beyond that. You can think of it like wearing a virtual reality headset. So it's like consciousness is wearing a virtual reality headset, and then your character is being played out in the virtual reality. And the character has particular programming, which you could call karma, and then that through that particular programming, it makes particular responses happening in the game. And all the time, the character in the game is asking, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? How do I get home? It's not conscious of that. It's seeking. It's not really seeking for who it is. It's seeking to get home, but that is seeking for who you are. So it's seeking to get home in sex. It's seeking to get home in relationships. It's seeking to get home in winning all the money or getting lots of houses or having lots of children. It's seeking and looking for that moment of rest, whereas it will never rest until there is this energetic movement back to who it is. That involvement in the game is what's made the game too intense, is what's made your life too intense. When you remember that it's a game, but it's not the person that remembers that, it's beyond the person, when there's a shift back to that consciousness, remembering that, then there is a freedom in that game, or there's a freedom in that world. But it can't be that person in the virtual reality, because that person's not alive. It doesn't exist. It's a character being played out. It's a program. It's a set of numbers all playing out really rapidly to give the appearance of a person. And who you truly are is that which is watching and that which is experiencing the game, and that sense of a presence, that sense of aliveness. And that's happening right here, right now. Like you only find the watcher in the actual watching, in the experience, in the consciousness. It's not found in that character daydreaming about a better future, or daydreaming about getting enlightened, or daydreaming about having better karma. I might have already said that. It's found in the experience. It's found in the one that is watching the experience. And that one that's watching the experience isn't separate from the experience itself. It's not separate from the virtual world. Okay, maybe I've said enough now. You can ask questions. Let me turn on Skype. Hi Ian. Hi Lisa. What do the psychological aspects of the guru-disciple relationship have to do with non-duality and energetic shift? Thanks. Don't think it has anything to do with it. I don't think it's relevant to the energetic shift. It does seem to be in waking up that it needs to be heard, this subject. So there needs to be somebody in the dream which is speaking about this subject, not necessarily, but it just seems to be that that's what happens. That somebody speaks about this subject and then that's listened to. I think that we can begin to make the terminology guru redundant. Like, I'm not really a fan of putting one person in a position of so much power. I think it's better, I think everything's better done more collectively. So I think now with the use of the internet, the guru can begin to disappear. You see, 100 years ago or 50 years ago, in order to get this message, you had to go and actually see the teacher. And then, if a lot of people go to the teacher, it begins to get into this mentality of worshipping that one person for speaking. And it's like everybody's sitting listening to that one person. It's like being back at school with the teacher, and everyone wants to have a personal relationship with the teacher, and the teacher is better than everybody. And because you're in a room with 50 people or 100 or even 1,000 people all admiring and listening to that one person, it kind of creates this fixation on the teacher, and it gives that teacher too much power. And I think that's always dangerous, to give one person too much power. That's why we exist in democracy now, because we realized that kings and dictatorships and queens didn't work, that giving one person all that power wasn't the best. It was best to have everybody represented in order to make the decisions. And it's not that I think that all gurus are inherently bad or anything. I think that they're in a difficult position. I think it's terrible to be famous. It's that's quite a karma, to be famous guru and to have all these people like idolizing you. But I think with the internet now, this can begin to change, because we can begin to make it really down to earth. Like, I can give this talk and you're not seeing like 100 people also listening to this talk. I mean, I know you can see numbers, but it's quite different me giving a talk in your front room, just me, and it seems like me and you, rather than me and like hundreds of people listening. And I think that makes it a bit more down to earth and takes out a level of this guru-student dynamic. I really think the internet has amazing qualities and amazing advantages. So when the person begins to hear this subject, so now onto the psychological aspect, when the person begins to hear this subject, that what you're looking for isn't actually in what you seek, it's like somebody coming off of alcohol. And normally that needs to be in a supported environment. So when somebody begins to become clean of alcohol or drug addiction, they normally have to go into rehabilitation because it's too hard to do it alone. And it's the same for non-duality. Like, in a way, you're so addicted. Most people are so addicted to their patterns of seeking, to believing that freedom is when you make a lot of money, freedom is when you get a wife or a husband or have kids or a big house. That the whole society is entranced with this idea of an illusory you that's here now, that's existed in the past, and is going to get freedom in the future. And most people are constantly fantasizing about that. And so as you begin to see it's an illusion, what it does is it does funky things to your energetic system and to your mentality. So it can make people very depressed, because when you begin to realize that everything that you've always been everything that you're looking for is never in what you've been doing, that can create depression. Because before you believed it was in getting the woman or getting the house, and so you had something to wake up and do in the morning, and you had this big momentum and passion to do it. And as you begin to realize that's not the case, that can have a depressing effect on the body-mind. And then you need to have somebody from outside, more than likely, remind you that depression is another trap. Like, so depression isn't it? It's not because the person's going to get to it, but it's just that what will happen is the person will get into depression, and then they'll seek in depression. They'll seek, believe it or not, to maintain the story of depression. And then the more that goes on, the more chemicals of depression you'll produce in your body. And you'll really believe that that story is true. And so there'll be a strong identification with that story and that seeking. And so what a teacher would do in that situation is remind you that that's simply feelings coming up. And the reason that depression comes up is because you've gone so extreme in the other directions. You've gone so extreme, always doing and acting and trying and achieving, that when that's taken away, your life feels meaningless. And meaning was never meant to be dependent on your actions and what you do. So it's almost like your meaning and your purpose was always about future. And as you begin to take that away, then it begins to feel depressed. It's like, I'm meaningless, I'm hopeless, I haven't got anything to do. So then you need somebody to say that's not true as well, and to look at that's another addiction. Like, we're terrified of not having meaning and purpose, and see the illusion of meaning and purpose. And it's not because that person will get to it. It's clearing the thorns. It's clearing the bushes out of the way. And it's not that that person wakes up. It's just that that illusion is seen through for what it is. And then there's the possibility for consciousness to be recognized. But that part, the waking up and seeing who you are, is consciousness, and that energetic shift is grace. It's not something that you can get yourself to. It happens when it happens. But on the human level, the human seems to go through an apparent process, and it seems to need somebody from outside to point, that's illusion, you're getting into mind stuff. Like, I see it so often people come in bulldozing with this subject and like, yeah, I found it, I'm going to get enlightened now. And then, after a year or 2 or 3 years, they begin to, like a love affair, fall out of love, and they haven't got what they're looking for, and difficult feelings begin to come up. So they begin to blame non-duality and think, oh, it doesn't work, it's rubbish. And then they move on to something else. And so it's also seeing in that's mind stuff coming up, that the mind is getting distracted by a new illusion, by a new idea, by a new seeking pattern. So that's what somebody who's a teacher or speaker does. But I think we can begin to take it out. We can take that work out of this guru-disciple relationship. We can take it out of that by doing these things over the internet. So there's distance between the person and the teacher. Like, there's no ability to get hold of the teacher or make the teacher a new religion. And also you can do one-to-one sessions, or you can do small retreats or workshops where this stuff is pointed out. But you don't need to go and live in an ashram and live there for 20 years and become a slave to the ashram and working for the ashram in order to become free. But sometimes I think for some people it's healthy to go into an ashram. I'm not a big fan of this guru-disciple relationship, but sometimes people are really struggling with life and being in an organized environment where there's ritual and routine and devotion and more positive energy. That can also be really healthy for some people that can't establish that for themselves outside in the world because of past karmas. But I'm all for breaking down the guru and the disciple relationship for many, many reasons. I've been around this stuff for a long time, like coming to 20 years, and I see the problems of it. Like one organization that I used to be with called the FWBO, they had a guru right at the top of the tradition. But what he did, which I think was very wise, was that he taught teachers to teach. So you never interacted with the guru. So the original students did. But he set up all these centers, and in these centers, he had teachers that were always changing, coming in and teach at those centers. And I thought that was good. Like it made it less about this one guru figurehead, and yet the teachings were there, and yet and there was also people that had been on this path a lot longer, able to reflect things back to you. And if there was one teacher you didn't get on with, then there would be somebody else that you could go to. I think that's more wise. Hi, Dennis. Hi, Lisa. Hope you have time to chat during your class. Yes. Yes. You can call now. Just let me get Luke back on. Okay, we'll just wait for him to call. Hidden. Hi, Hidden. You may have to stop having retreats because so many of us want personal contact with the teacher. It gets too overwhelming for the teacher. Hope not. Oh, 1 second. I'll take this before I answer yours. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Dennis.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Nice.
Is the video off?
Yeah, the video's
Hold on.
off.
Let me turn off the TV. There. Okay. Hey.
Hey, nice to hear from you.
Yeah, you too.
How are things? How are things since we last spoke?
Well, hold on just a second. Let me switch the headphones
Oh
to the
yeah.
other side.
No worries.
Okay.
No worries. Sorry, I'm a bit drunk tonight. Not physically drunk, but just like a bit blissed out.
Tired?
So
bless.
Yeah,
Good.
so I'm like saying my words wrong. It's like sometimes if I get too blissed out, my dyslexia comes on very strong.
Oh, okay. I
And
can
I
handle
start
that.
saying things the wrong way around.
I'm okay with that. So my headphones aren't working, but you can hear me through my
Yeah, and
computer.
it's not feeding back. Like sometimes it creates a bit of distortion, but it's okay for the moment.
Okay. So, man, I know, let me see if I can switch to headphones. Or maybe not. Anyway, so I was talking to you about this relationship I was in, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and it was very
anyway,
intense.
so yeah, it was intense, and I was joking I was going to get married. Well, so we did.
You did?
Well, hold on. So this thing has been like roller coaster. So 3 days later, because I was hiding that I was smoking from her, 3 days later it ends.
Oh wow! But she
Yeah,
discovered that you smoked.
yeah, she tasted it on me, and then that was it. I mean, I had kind of moved in, and then she kicked me out, and she wouldn't communicate, and so I'm kind of don't know where I'm at or how to go about, kind of between pursuing or just letting it go, or
And
I don't know.
did you get it annulled?
Well, another interesting thing is the certificate never got mailed in, so it's not actually an official marriage. So just bizarre all over the place.
Oh wow! What? So the people that you got married with, or the registry office, didn't complete the job.
Okay, so well, it was done. Okay, so we did the certificate, and then we went and did it in a church, and there were witnesses, and we signed off. and then they give you the whole certificate with the part you mail in, so you can get the application, and then you mail that in, and then they um, finalize it and send you your. So it never got mailed in, and she had possession of that, and she still does, and so,
Wow.
but yeah, just bizarre. And the whole time, the whole time this thing was going on, she was like back and forth, reluctant, not reluctant. Just, I think a lot of scared to death and all that kind of stuff. Just weird. And I don't know if you have any advice for me, but I'm just like,
How long
kind of,
ago
like
did
I
that
said,
happen?
that was about just a little over a week ago.
Oh,
So
not long.
about, yeah, about 8 days ago. So it's been real painful.
Yeah.
Part of the pain has kind of showed me as I like feel like missing her a lot, then I might be able to identify it as really just seeking approval. You know what I mean? Even though I feel the pleasure of it, it also tells me a lot of it is like seeking approval.
From her.
You know, from her and maybe just people in general. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can imagine there's um, like a lot of different things that are painful in that. Like
Yeah, there.
because she's cut off, that's quite dramatic when somebody cuts off from you. So you feel a little like up in the air. You don't know where you're at, confused. Like I'm sure there's different things, but predominantly, like what you're ultimately searching for on the deepest level is you're seeking to find love, or to find
Yeah.
home, or to find contentment. And I don't know if it was the case with her, but I can't remember what we discussed last time. But if you were using her to seek for love,
Well,
to seek for home.
all I know is time together was just phenomenal and just real relaxed and natural and just lots of laughter and deep sharing and so just the ability to just be, right?
Yeah,
But then when I was apart, there's this neediness. So we talked about this, but like needing to be text responded to, email responded back to, phone calls responded back to. We kind of talked about that stuff, but when we were together, just so rich and just so beautiful and you know,
yeah.
yeah.
And how long did you like? I mean, is it like a normal like needing response, or is it like you wanted it instantly, or is it that she didn't respond for like a couple of days each time or something?
Oh no, yeah, I wanted it instantly, and it was generally within a good time frame. I mean, if it was just a friend of mine, it wouldn't have been an issue, but
Yeah,
it's totally different for me because it's a relationship and it's my first significant one out of this divorce. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I can imagine there was seeking love because that's what made it so high. Like, is this feeling that you melted with her, like you were totally at home with her, and
yeah,
that's really beautiful. But it is an illusion. You can have that. You can really feel at home and melt with someone, but it's not. It's not just secluded to them. Like, when you're by
right.
yourself, you also have this felt feeling of melting with what is. It might be intensified with being with them, but you don't need them in order to do that. So what happens when you fall in love is that it produces so much pleasure. It often produces like you feel validated, you feel like you connected with someone, you don't feel alone anymore, you feel appreciated. It's all the juicy things when you first fall in love. Like it's like everything wonderful. It's sexual, like sexual desire can be
Yeah,
satisfied.
yeah,
um and it can be really healing. Like if you've come from a difficult relationship in the past, it can be really healing being with someone else that sees things differently and has different perspectives. So it's in the beginning of falling in love, it's so super juicy. And then um what happens in that juice and in that beauty, so when you feel like somebody really sees you or understands you, you momentarily stop seeking. you feel completely content to be where you are. You don't feel like you're waiting to be in another place, that you're waiting for the next thing to happen. You just feel happy to be where you are. Like you feel contented to be where you are. So seeking stops, and then you have a taste of home. And the mind thinks that the taste of home is them, but actually the taste of home is the fact that they've satisfied particular elements in you, and you actually fully drop into being yourself. Or not fully, but there's a part of you that drops in or tastes yourself and tastes that contentment of who you are. And that happens with everything. So if somebody's super successful suddenly, it can happen with that. It doesn't have to be love. But there's so many good things you get when you're falling in love. What can happen with some people, and because you've been in a long relationship, this might be something that you're tempted into, is that you keep repeating the falling in love part because it's so addictive. So I meet a lot of people that do that. They say that in loveness normally lasts somewhere between 1 or 6 months to 3 years, and then after the 3 years, if people make it past the 3 years, then it's more of a stable relationship. It's like you actually get on, you actually work well together, and then you don't have such intense in loveness, but you have more stability and growth and naturalness together. And it doesn't mean that being in love completely goes, it just fades. It's normally really intense for the first 6 months to 3 years. And often people just stay on very short relationships just to experience being in love again and again and again. Hello?
Yeah, well, my intention was certainly not to do that. I mean, I was wanting just to be in relationship, and we did so many things relationship-wise well together that I just, I pictured it as really nice going into the future. But I certainly don't want to do all the work involved in falling in love, I think I have a little more realistic view. I don't know, that's my perception, but I thought, because I mean, for me, the common ground was there was a spiritual approach. There was doing tasks, like the household stuff well together, um, and just intent as far as being a person and being employed and getting stuff done, and just those things, helping others, all that stuff. So I think it was a fairly good realistic viewpoint, but who knows? I mean, you know,
I think it's really beautiful
crazy.
to really commit to someone, but there's something in you that energetically knew what it was getting into. We think that we're a lot more unconscious than we are, and we are on the surface level unconscious, but our body is up to something. Our body knows what it's doing. So there was some part of you that was attracted to this backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. Otherwise you wouldn't have stayed in it. You said she was in it and then she wasn't, and then she was in it and then she wasn't. There was something an energy that attracted you towards that, and somebody that's like that is more than likely not going to be reliable for the future.
Okay, yeah.
I have a friend that I've known since I was a teenager, and she's always trying to get away from everybody. That's her energy. She's always trying to escape everybody and get away from everybody, but she never does it. But her energy always wants to do it. So what it makes, or what it produces, is a very uncommitted person, even though she is committed. I've been friends with her for 25 years, and not 25 years, 20 years. And if I called her, she would always be there to help. But she always has that, and I can see, if a guy is attracted towards her, they must be attracted towards that energy too. At first, we play naive, but there is something undercurrent that's happening. Our bodies are always playing out our karma in a way.
Yeah. See, my perception of that was, because I saw it early on, my perception of that was because she's done seeking and work and life coach and all that. So I figured, eventually that will calm down, hoping that, I guess, but kind of foreseeing that because I knew that she wasn't this person that was just going to sit back in a specific personality. And maybe there is something in me that likes that. That's interesting you say that.
Yeah,
I never thought of it that
yeah.
way.
And I can
But
so with the smoking thing,
yeah.
was there other things? So I can imagine why she had a big reaction to that, because to her, she'll think that you've lied to her, and if you've lied to her about that, then you could have lied to her about anything.
Okay, probably, and that's kind of where she went with it. And then so the initial meeting, we met on a dating site, and I was posted as divorced, and then we started dating, and then about 4 days into it, I was like, "Hey, we need to talk," and I told her. So I wasn't like, so there was that, but I did try to clean it up like right away. And then I am pretty honest, so my actions kind of from then till the end were very honest and deeply honest actually. So, but she comes from a big time lack of trust. So, and she told me that. She told me that when she initially got married, they did a screening and she came up as not trusting very well whatsoever, and whoever was doing the analysis said, whoa. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, so very non-trusting. And yeah, yeah, she just, and that's what other people said. It was just like a big gigantic, like almost violent reaction, like a
yeah.
very judgmental stance on it, yeah. Yeah.
And so you told her you stopped smoking.
I never told her that yeah, actually, yeah, I did. And then about 2 weeks prior to that, she smelled it on me and I think probably tasted it and questioned it. And I said no. And then this time, and she was irate. And, and then she was like, well, and then she was pissed and she's like, well, what do you want? And I said, I just want to be able to make this better. And then she just shut it down. I took my stuff, I was out, and then she wouldn't communicate. So
Yeah,
I miss her a lot, and I still see a lot of, but so I'm kind of up in the air. Do I continue to pursue it? Do I let it go? I don't know. Within me says it's constant within me, go after it. I don't know. I'm really like clueless as to
yeah,
let it go, learn from it.
yeah. Yeah, it's unknown. Like when someone cuts you off, you have to wait for them to really come to you. Like
Yeah,
it's not really much you can do.
yeah. I did write a letter, and I think I'll, leave it for her at her place. But the thing is, I thought it was real judgmental on her part. Well, she actually cheated on her ex, and I mean, there's all kinds of judgment and there's all kinds of withholding. So I was withholding, but there's all kinds of withholding that's still causing a lot of damage in her life, and that was part of my point in my letter. But anyway,
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe you're right. Maybe she's never capable. Maybe she's always going to be back and forth between these two extremes and
yeah.
not really capable. I don't know.
And
I don't
I
know.
would just be like clear in yourself. Like, um, like I wouldn't, like when you argue, I wouldn't mess things together. So I wouldn't. Not that I'm an expert. Like I can get into arguments as well, because it's very
Yeah,
complicated. So what it's made you feel is you made you feel judged. But I wouldn't put that with what she's done in the past, because what's actually happened is you have sinned, like not
yeah,
ultimately, like,
yeah,
like not on the ultimate scale. On the ultimate scale, you're totally free and you're perfect, and it couldn't have been any other way. But on the human level, you told a not truth and you got caught,
yeah,
and all of us do it. Like it's not meaning
yeah,
to be judgmental, but that's, you know, that's that, and you just stand in that and you take responsibility for that. And
Sure.
the other stuff you need to deal with, I would say, separately. Like, so her being like overly judgmental about this, like that, I wouldn't clump it together. So it's like you've got to stand in the fact that you did tell a lie and you got caught out, and
And just own that.
and just own that, and then look at the other stuff. Like, I wouldn't go in writing a letter. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to do what you want to do, and if that feels right, but just break it up. Like I wouldn't use in any way her being judgmental as an excuse for anything. Like, that's her side of seeing things. Like, she's having her response.
Yeah, I don't want to use it as an excuse, but I was trying to make a comparison in where she's at, and it's probably keeping her stuck.
Yeah, but that,
You know,
yeah,
not to go ahead.
yeah, that's difficult because, you know, that's the sort of thing that leads to very complex arguments, because, you know, that's a big
Yeah,
thing about what she's done in the past.
yeah, yeah. Part of the purpose of stating it was it's because it's still creating problems in her life, and she hasn't actually shared it with her son. So and maybe you're right about that.
I think
It's
it's a
causing
separate.
damage.
I think it's separate, and I think you should bring.
Separate.
Yeah, I think you should bring that up with her another time. You know,
Okay.
like not with this subject.
Okay.
I think
Gotcha.
acknowledge that you feel judged. Acknowledge that you feel that, and you could say, "I feel very judged," but I wouldn't.
Uh-huh.
That's what we often do when we have conflict with people. It's like
Yeah.
there's one problem in hand, so there's one issue in hand, and then we bring up past problems. And I
Right.
would agree that she's got to deal with that, but I wouldn't bring it up with this situation. Like, that's a
Okay.
separate thing.
Yeah. I don't want to go away from owning this because
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make excuses or that it didn't happen or yeah, but I appreciate and respect what you're saying. Yeah.
Just because
Probably so.
it makes it all so complicated, you know, and intermeshed. I would
Yeah.
bring that up with her, you know, when you're both in a good place, and just say, you know, would you
Right.
like to look at this with me? And do you want to have a
Yeah.
conversation with it? It will get so messy if you start bringing that up at this point in time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not, I mean,
I
like,
think
not that I'm perfect, like I get things wrong, but I always think
no.
if you're gonna like have a disagreement about something, stay on that one subject and then bring up the other stuff another time. Like, it's so
Right.
easy that like suddenly like all these things from the past come up or this comes up, and then it makes things so complicated.
Yeah. And I'm generally not a person that's going to go there and get into like, well, you did that, you did that, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
I can take responsibility for what I did, and
Yeah, and
that's what I
it
did.
most probably is connected. I wouldn't deny that it isn't. It most probably is connected.
Yeah,
Like, if you lie
yeah,
and cheat in the past, then that's going to make you really suspicious of other people. I remember I once worked for somebody who had stolen in the past, and she was like a spiritual person and really open, and she used to get paranoid that people would steal from her because of what she did in the past, and she saw that as her karma, and she was really open about it, and we talked and we reflected on this. Like, it is karma. It's part of the karma of when you lie or cheat on a partner, then you're always going to expect the person to be doing it on you. So there's always going to be, I mean, what you do to others is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. So if you're cheating on someone, then it's already showing that you've got lack of trust in yourself and in others. But it's
yeah,
it's something that I would bring up at a different time, because at the moment it's about this one subject and then you can help and support her in the other subject when that subject's settled down. It's so complicated
yeah,
interacting with people,
yeah.
and I know,
Absolutely.
and I'm not claiming, you know, I can get into arguments with people. It's difficult not to, because it's complex sometimes. You know, somebody does something and then you try and bring it up, and then they mention something else, and then you're excusing yourself for something else, and then you get distracted, and then you come back, and then emotions are playing. It is complex, human interaction.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your insight into it.
And also just take that as like my opinion, like also you've got to go with your heart, and if your heart feels like doing it, and if you get into complex stuff or it's really simple, it's exactly as it's meant to be in the end.
Well, and if she's mature and reasonable, she'll see that she's judging harshly. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think just keep it in. This is what I did. I know that I'm wrong, and I'm sorry, and I
Yeah.
think that's best. Yeah.
And you might find that that she comes round by herself. You might find, give her space and she comes round, or you like, and then you can open things up for discussion. Like, it's only 8 days.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think about flowers? Wait, do it.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay.
I've got an opinion about. I'm sure you've got lots of people's opinion. I've got opinion about bringing up other stuff, but the flowers, I don't know.
So as far as sending them, just maybe wait on it.
I just feel that in your heart, like just try and be really genuine with it, like
Okay.
that it's not about getting her
Gotcha.
back, that it's like
Oh,
a
okay.
really genuine feeling, like you're doing it out of love and expansion. So it's not about trying to convince her to come back with you. It's like about a commitment to your relationship and that love and that groundedness in it.
Okay. Sounds good. How you been doing?
Yes, I'm doing very well. Yeah.
Good.
I've been
You
I've been
blissed
writing.
out?
Am I still blissed out? Yeah, I still feel quite blissed out. But I've managed to keep a conversation quite well, haven't I? It's terrible. Like, it's like sometimes you get blissed out. It is like being drunk, and then because I've got quite severe dyslexia, my dyslexia just comes out, and you start saying sentences all back to front to people, and then I can't remember always if I've said things or not. So sometimes I think I'm repeating myself.
Yeah. Oh man. So I had my endorsement as in reading specialist, but they don't teach you how to work with someone with dyslexia, and I don't know if there's, what you do.
Oh yeah, there is specific ways in which to teach dyslexics, but I've forgotten now because that's the way my brain works. Like, I do know how you do it. So when I was at school, I had to learn to read and write, and I can't remember the formula, but the way was that I saw a picture, and then no, I saw a word and a picture. So on one side of the card I had a picture, and on one side I had a word. And like sometimes they would show me the picture and then I said the word, and sometimes they'd show me the word and then I saw the picture. And we played games with this, and this was like the way they taught me to read eventually. Like, it was terrible in the beginning when
Must
they
have
tried
been.
to teach me read. But these cards used to work quite well. And so it's something about I've forgotten. I can't believe that I've forgotten how you teach a dyslexic to read and do things. But it's about
Oh.
a specific area of the brain, and you can't do it. So what's the traditional way in which you teach to read? It's look and learn. Or what is it that they teach it? It's that you look and you...
Well, there's different ways. There's like whole language where and then there's phonetic approach where you're using strong phonics. So,
I
and
think dyslexics more for phonetics.
yeah.
I can't remember though.
Yeah, so phonetics is just the sounds that go
Yeah,
with the letters, and then eventually being able to sound words and then seeing them after, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think phonetic is a strong way in which they do it. So on the back of the card, they used to separate all the letters like together to make sounds, and then they'd, I
Uh-huh.
think, have the phonetic writing underneath of it. So
Oh,
what it
okay.
actually was, and then the phonetic. So you would like actually have what it sounds like written out. I think that was what they used to
Huh.
do. But there is a
Yeah,
really specific way in which you do it.
I imagine there is. Yeah, because it was never taught to me.
Yeah,
I don't have a clue.
yeah. And I'm a dyslexic, and I was taught that way, and I don't have a clue. But that's part of the way my brain works. I forget everything.
Uh,
Nice. Well, it was lovely speaking to you. Good luck with your relationship. I hope that pans out and that you get what you want from the
okay.
situation.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that you're doing well and blissfully drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
So I was looking to sign up for a session, but it looks like you're all the way into January, maybe.
I know. It's gone crazy. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
don't know what happened. It just, it suddenly, like one night I went to sleep and then when I woke up there were like 20 bookings and then it just went on like that for a week and then suddenly, but I sometimes think that like life works energetically so perfectly. So for the next couple of months, I've got, in France, we have all our tax bills to pay. And last year I overspent my money because I renovated my house and I would have made it. But it's almost like just prior to the tax bills coming, I suddenly got all these bookings all the way to January. And now I've got more and extra to pay, for my tax. I mean, it was a little tight because I overspent last year, but I would have done it anyway. But now it's like it booked up all the way till December, all the way till January, and suddenly I got three or 2 months of money, and now it's like everything is all organized. I think that life works really magically sometimes. I always feel like that with money, like it always
Yeah.
works out perfectly. Like you don't push it. Like I never advertise or push the sessions. Like it just, and I don't
Right.
try and encourage people to rebook or anything. I always say, or I try to encourage people, not all the time, but most of the time, to feel what's best for them. And I think it just works out perfectly. Life, like you just sit back and then it works. It's
Yeah, what a
funny.
concept. Sitting
Yeah,
back and knowing that's gonna
yeah,
work out.
yeah,
Even though you get evidence of it all the time, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's really funny in France, and like it's all different in all different countries. But you get the big bills in like September, October, November, December. Really, actually, those 4 months they kind of spread it out, and then it's suddenly like poof, poof, when it's heavily taxed in France, so it's big.
Ah,
Yeah,
oh well.
but it was my fault. I spent all my money last year.
Oh well. Well, that's cool. You got your place fixed up.
Yeah,
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 cool. All right.
nice.
Huh. Well, maybe we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of love to you.
Oh, you too. Thank you very much.
Bye, sweetie.
Have a great night.
Thanks. So this is from Hidden. You may have stopped having retreats. You may have to stop having retreats because so many of us want personal contact with the teacher. It gets too overwhelming for the teacher. Hope not, but got that thought when you answered the first question today. Oh, I'm so sorry about my burps. It was really funny. I had a friend to stay recently, and it was so beautiful having them to stay because I live in quite a remote area, so there's not exactly much for people to do when they come to stay. So often I take people out a lot, like and drive to places and show them around. Whereas this friend's quite spiritual, so I just totally relaxed into waiting for them if they wanted to do something to ask, and if not, I just got on with my things, and if they wanted to do something, they said. And I just got so relaxed with this friend. I kind of knew them not so well. Well, no, I do know them quite well. I've known them for many years, but not like super intimate. And I just got super relaxed and just kind of completely forgot any boundaries and got into like totally being open with my burps and farts. And I think it was really shocking for them. Like really shocking. It was really lovely. I really enjoyed it. It's really lovely just being totally yourself. Yeah, you can see how blissed out I am tonight. I'm even telling you about my farts. No boundaries. But yeah, you should try that with a guest that you know reasonably well coming, and then the first night that you just let out a massive fart. And so this is the kind of my personality when I'm by myself. Like, I'm not really afraid of these types of things. But then when we go onto live stream, like, there's all these recorded videos of me sitting there doing these really big talks about non-duality, about philosophy, about psychology, and then I'm like, bah! Oops. But I have no restraint. I forget to restrain myself because I'm not very restrained in it. Anyway. Hey Lisa, isn't life amazing? Like, really, truly amazing and wonderful? Yes, it is, Nick. Hey Isabel. Hi Jordan. Hi Lisa. The feelings are currently a bit weird. I can put this off. And I can put this up. It is like this energetic shift is what is deeply wanted, and at the same time, anything but that. There is a sense of fear in it. And also, I also feel understanding concepts, meditate, releasing karma, or whatever is doing is completely irrelevant for the shift. And I can't explain why, but there is a sense of joy about it and deep trust. Thanks for bringing me to those who don't pretend to be something anymore, that make life so much easier when difficulties are here. The smiley is for the robotic voice. Oh, I didn't do the robotic voice this time. I read you. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And it's so hard to tell people that, because everybody's convinced that what wakes up is the person, and that the person will change, and that it's actually radical acceptance of the person, and that the person doesn't become enlightened, and that they can burp and fart and shout and scream and get into arguments and get into disputes and be inappropriate and have anxiety, be happy, be sad. And it's not to do with that, it's something beyond that. And that's very difficult to explain to people, because everyone's like, yeah, bullshit, you're just not enlightened, that's why you say that. Like, it is an energetic shift that is beyond the person. It does seem that for a lot of people, including myself, that the person had to settle to an extent. And there is a desire here on the human level to keep expanding and making myself nicer and kinder and open and more loving and everything. But it's really not it. You're not going to arrive there on the human level. It's this energetic expansion that's beyond all of that, no matter what the character's doing. And it's totally giving into that and surrendering to that and letting the character act out. If that's grumpy or sadness or complete unenlightenment, just totally letting it out, like hang loose, like your stomach stick out, and do whatever it does, cry or scream. But nobody is trying to be something anymore. It's just being itself. Even if it's trying to be something. Hi Carmela, love and gratitude to you. Great conversation. It brought up a lot of issues that maybe I would want to talk to you. Really nice and insightful, thank you. It reflects back to me how skillful can be the ego person avoiding being seen and exposed. Like, I could see it in my story, thank you. Maybe 3 months and I'll be able to book a private session with you. Thank you, love your way of being and seeing. Hi Anka. Yeah, another thing that I believe, so I said that stuff about the tax thing, like, I do think it all works out perfectly. Not that sometimes I don't get like, oh fuck, I've spent too much money. I'll have moments of like, oh crap, how am I going to pay this bill? Like, I get that sometimes. But generally I feel like that's the way life works, that when money's needed, if you just relax and sit back and trust, like not a forced thing, but a natural thing, it comes. But the other thing I believe is that there is like a collective energy in humans. And so when like a group of people become interested in an object, then it attracts the energy of other people to that object. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this before. Like sometimes this happens to me with fashion. I don't like watch the news or the media that much. I watch about Brexit because I have to, but or I'm fascinated by it, but I also have to a bit keep up with it. But I tend to not watch too much what's in fashion. And when I used to live in the forest in Australia, I used to be very removed from that type of stuff. And what I would notice is that when something was in fashion, I would just naturally begin to desire it, but I wouldn't even know it was in fashion. So say the color like mustard was in fashion, like I would suddenly begin to desire having mustard colored things. And I think it's collective energy that we all pick up on. So say with the sessions, like because a few people started booking, so maybe there was a bit like 3 or 4 or 5 people started booking in a period of time, it attracted energetically other people to it. Like it put that thought into other people's heads. I know that sounds really crazy, but I think like it's collective consciousness, and you will notice it happening around you. That one person thinks things and then suddenly you think it, or your friends start talking about something and you've been thinking about it. Like life is so much more magical and mysterious. And I always notice that it works like that with money for me. Like like with my retreats, if I need more money, then I have really busy retreats. And if I don't, then I have less busy retreats. It always works out perfectly. And then I think it also works out for the person because I also think on the other side of things that people that need smaller retreats, so people that need the bigger retreats, go on the bigger retreats when there's like lots of people on the retreat, and then people come on the smaller retreats when they need more attention. So when there is like a really small group and maybe it doesn't produce money or any revenue for me, like I always feel that it's important for those people that have come on the retreat because there's something in them that energetically needed that personal attention and that small group. I always think it always works out perfectly and in line with everybody's desires. Like the being a teacher game, like I've really had to like trust it over the years with money and finances. I know that maybe some people don't like it that I talk about money and finances because they're like spirituality and money shouldn't go together. But it's just money is just an energy, like it's an energy that you say thank you with, or that you appreciate the services of someone. So it's just like a swap. It's an energetic swap. So in the olden days, it would be like I had a bag of pasta and then I swapped it for your bag of rice. And we swapped a bag and a bag. And that's the same as what money is. It's not this big evil thing, mastermind. It's an energy that's like gratitude. It's like I appreciate what you've given and here is what I give you. It's not a big bad thing. That's a mentality. A collective mentality as well. And yeah, and it's really taken trust on the money level with the teaching thing. Like over the years, like booking venues and just the way that I've done business. Like I'm not a business person. I don't advertise. Sometimes people that have organized my retreats have advertised, but never because of me. Like, and I just let it happen organically. Like I do my videos, I advertise it on my videos, and then I put it on Facebook, and I just let it happen organically if people want to come. And I always find it exactly works out perfectly. I don't have to go out and grab people, and people don't have to come and grab me, although maybe has happened in the past. But you don't have to do that. It naturally works out. I'm not saying there's moments where there isn't like an uncomfortable feeling about it, but in general, that is my perspective on it. Hi, Atu. Hi, Lisa. I would be really grateful if you please consider this my last question in this live stream. What's your question? You have to ask the question. What is the question? You're very welcome to ask a question. Hi, Bia. What a bliss to hear your voice twice a week. Lots of love. Hi, Lisa. Why do you feel the person desire to become more kinder, etc., whilst the shift in reference is beyond the person? Also, you may be correct in the collective impulse, it becomes you. I think that it's different for everyone, but for me, because I've done lots of work on myself and I've got beneath a lot of the bullshit stuff, on the deep levels, I find that that's what the human is drawn towards. The human is drawn more towards harmony and peace and kindness and love with people. It doesn't always have that, but that's what it's drawn towards. So like changing some of my karmas or conditioning comes up. There's that movement. But on the conditioned level, I had to go through a lot of bullshit stuff on top. Hi, Ishnani. I don't know how to say your name. Aishani. I am aware that my attention is more in my heart, and there is an energy of control that takes me to the mind again and again. It is also wounds that I work with, and it seems that it is this wound must be released before awareness is in the heart. Is it so? Actually, the freedom that you seek isn't in a specific location in the body. The freedom that you seek is in presence and in consciousness. But we have these chakras in our body, and sometimes on the human level, you need to release certain things from your chakras and change and shift certain energies in your chakras. So at the moment, the strong chakra that you have is the mind, so the third eye, and that's working too much, and so you've got this feeling of being more here. And you're right, in a way, you drop into the body, and then when you drop into the body, you see there is no body, and then you begin to see who you truly are, but it's not in a particular area in the body. It's the heart of being, but it's not just in your heart area here. Maybe you didn't mean that. Thank you for your question. Hi, Atul. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for sharing your wisdom freely. That's a pleasure. That is a pleasure, Atu, over the internet. I would like to know, is that okay to feel still in the physical body while knowing the truth that this body is actually in me, as I have listened many things regarding feeling of oneness and loss of separation, etc. Actually, I know the answer intuitively, but it would be great help if you can clear those things. Regards, Atu. That is my question. Thanks, Atu. It doesn't have to be your last question. If you still have another question after that, you're very welcome. Let me just read that again, it's slightly complex. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Yes. I would like to know, is that okay to feel still in the physical body while knowing the truth that the body is actually in me? As I've listened to many things, so for me, the way they experience is, or the way I experience this, is there's this sense of oneness looking through this body. And I don't know what you mean by still feeling inside this body. That's something for you to determine. But there's this connection to this infinite nature, to this bigness. And then it's looking through this apparent body. So I still feel the body, I still feel the heartache if someone's rude to you, I still feel fear or love or joy or anything the body has. But there's another connection as well. So you have to determine that for yourself, I think. And if your intuition knows what is right or wrong, then I would listen to that. Thank you for your question, Jordan. One day it will be the predominant way of life. Yes. Anka. When you've been to Romania, I was not able to come. I still regret it somehow. I would love to meet you. I need to trust again in the magic of life. I have a really strong desire to come to the end of the illusion of me. Thank you a million times. I am really a boring person. There is nothing special to meet. I don't mean boring person as in, like in myself, I don't feel like I'm a boring person. In myself, I find Lisa very exciting. But for the outside world, like most of the time, I don't have that much to say to people. So I don't think it will be a greater thing as you think it is meeting me. Like I think that's just a seeking energy. I think that love that you feel in these talks and that excitement and that intimacy is actually something that I'm reflecting back to you. And it's something you feel in yourself. Hi Nick. Hi Lisa. Isn't reminder the thumbs up on the video. Yes, if you like this video, you must put your thumbs up. It's the way that Google determines the algorithms. Thumbs up. What is like a tick? Ding. What is it they do in games? Yes, I exactly mean looking through the body. It's got very dark here. Well, I think that's enough for this evening. I've lost Skype. Yes. As I've had experience like looking outside of the body, but that was momentary. Yeah, that's just something that happens in awakening experiences, to clearly see that consciousness isn't attached to the body. Yeah. Okay, guys, it was so lovely sharing with you. I wish you a beautiful evening or day, whatever time it is there for you. And I shall see you on Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. Goodbye, the universe. Goodbye.